for them for a couple of years. Okay, being 6:30, I'll call the special meeting of the Facilities Committee to order. Roll call shows all members are present. At this time, we'll have any public comment. Is there anybody that would like to speak from the public? Okay, please go up to the front podium. Your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Katie Gallagher. I'm the Dunn County Health Department Director, and I'm stopping by today to give you guys the health department perspective on the guidelines and the working relationship that we have with Red Cedar Racing. So today was a hard day. We have an outbreak that just started this weekend.
Katie, can you speak right into the mic, please? We can't hear you.
I feel like I'm really close. Can you hear me now, Krista?
I can hear you now.
Awesome. So we are just starting an outbreak. We had 9 cases come through today. We had 8 cases last week, or I'm sorry, from the 7 days, yesterday through the week before. So the reporting period that I currently connect with Mark every Wednesday on 8 cases. The week before that, we had 2, and then for 3 weeks, we had 5 each week. So we're really seeing a steep incline in the number of cases because of this outbreak. We expect more cases. It was a faith community, or is a faith community, that is very unvaccinated. And it goes to show that we still have COVID-19 here in Dunn County, especially in pockets of unvaccinated and undervaccinated portions of our population that are very susceptible. I have 3 hospitalized people out of this outbreak. It's not done. And I think that the relationship that the health department and the Racing Association has put forward makes it so that we can have that conversation and negotiation about, do we have a risk for a super spreading event here in Dunn County? Our vaccination rates have plateaued. We have about 39% of our Dunn County residents have initiated the vaccinations process, and a little over 37% have finished. We're not getting new people signed up for vaccinations. The pop-up clinics that we're doing are really, I'm grateful for the people we are getting, but we're not getting many people. So at one of the meal sites, we had 2 people. We could have vaccinated 50. We were at a church last weekend, 4 people. Again, we could have vaccinated 50. So we still have significant pockets of unvaccinated people here in Dunn County. And we still have COVID impacting our population in a way that can hospitalize and kill. So given that data, I think, and the positive working relationship that the Racing Association and the Health Department have demonstrated moving forward, I don't think that this system is broken. The text I sent to the Racing Association today was, we had 8 cases in the last 7 days. That keeps you at 100% capacity. I already have 9 cases today. We'll have to have a conversation about what next week might look like. If that means 75% of grandstand, not including vaccinated people, that's still a lot of people, a lot of unvaccinated people in one space. So please consider that this isn't broke. We don't need to fix it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that would be wish to speak?
I didn't receive any online either.
Nothing online? Okay, thank you. Okay, then we'll go down to item number 4, which is the consideration of actions to be taken by the committee, modifications of standard operating procedures, policies, and guidelines for the 21 season of the Red Cedar Speedway. So that's what we're here to discuss. So what's people's thoughts? Anyone?
I guess I would like to see us move racing into the same group as most of the rest of the outdoor activities going on. And I would like to see us take racing and put them at 100%. And if things do become a crisis, I think they're certainly responsible enough to address those issues. They have to come back and do something. That's all.
Can you move your mic just a little bit closer? Sorry.
All right, is that better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
So that's where I stand on it. I'd be willing to move forward with a motion if someone else has some comments they want to put out first.
Ron, you got any comments?
No,
No, okay.
I'll add some comments and questions, and I guess that KT with this cases that are in front of us now, can they be tied to an indoor or an outdoor event?
Why don't you come and sit at the table? Join us.
So we're still working the outbreak. We have a combination. It's one faith community, outdoor softball, and fellowship and worship.
So we can't tie what's going on as to whether or not it was an outdoor or an indoor event, because it was probably both. Because according to the CDC, CDC at some point in time, it says they said the spreading of a virus at an outdoor event is very very limited,
Yep.
very small.
Yep.
And I know that this is an outdoor event, and there's probably more of a chance for people to come with respiratory problems because of the dirt clay that they inhale when they're at the track than they are with anything else. Because I've been there, I don't know if anybody else has, and you know, it says when it gets a little dry out there, it says there's a lot of dust that flies around in that grandstands.
I'll take your word for it.
So I'm more inclined to, because it's an outdoor event, it's less likely to spread, to give the Racing Association a little bit more leeway on what they can have in the stands. I do like what we have put in place, but I think for the large events that they have, it makes it very difficult because they can't plan much very far out, because they could plan that they need, you know, they're going to have 100%. They're going to have people traveling from far away. I mean, they could be traveling from northern Minnesota. They could be traveling from Missouri and from Kansas as they get here. And all of a sudden, you know, for some reason or another, we limit the number of people in the stands, and you know, their family and probably more likely their fans, which are their friends that have helped them work on cars or something, that follow them all around. Now they can't get in to watch the event. And it gets to be a little problematic. And I do like what we have put in place. But I'm thinking, is there some way that we can open things up a little bit more rather than waiting till a Wednesday to make a decision for a race that's going to happen on Friday?
Sure. So I appreciate that. One of the things, if it is a matter of notice and having more lead time for travel and that kind of thing, I would like to see what the Racing Association thinks is a reasonable amount of notice And if we need to move that up, so instead of Wednesday, we go off of the previous Friday, or if we go off of a different time frame. That way there's still that regular communication. It's not overly cumbersome, but we still have an ability to say, we're in the middle of something really concerning, we need to step back a bit. That would be my encouragement.
Okay. Thank you, KT. A lot of things running through my head, so.
Yeah, Dave.
I was thinking about that even before we got this news that just brought us today. But when we met, when it was mentioned that the hearing on Wednesday for an event on Friday just isn't enough lead time, I totally understand that with big events and stuff. So I was thinking maybe we could give them like 2 weeks notice. It would still, I know that it wouldn't be that you'd be able to, significantly close it down unless they were willing quickly, but it would still be able to close it down when we had, if this outbreak gets terrible throughout the county, that we need to do that. I don't know. I was just thinking about that. We could give them a 2-week notice or something, so that if they're there on a Saturday, they know that they've got it's good to go. They know they've got the next two weekends to race. I mean, 2 weeks notice on it.
Well, yeah, because, the big question is, what's the definition of a crisis? And, that's kind of like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder, It's hard to put a number saying this is it, boom, the 2-week idea would be great as far as from the racing perspective, but in your opinion, KT, in your professional viewpoint, is that too long? Can too much happen in 2 weeks? I mean,
So that's a great question. I think 2 weeks is concerning because that's a full incubation period. So you can have between exposure and infection, it can take up to 2 weeks. And so I think you're going to miss quite a bit, and you're going to have a quick doubling that you could have potentially not had happen if you had an ability to step in earlier. So it doesn't have the sensitivity that I think is needed, but I understand your concern and wanting to have something that meets their needs, but also doesn't set up a overly large outbreak situation.
okay. Yeah, Tim.
I do want to make another comment. Obviously, we're talking about Red Cedar Racing. I think has done a very, very good job of with the hand sanitizer and the sneeze shields and social distancing people when they go to the concession stands. And I mean they went above what I thought they were going to do in regards to this. And I just want to make sure and keep in mind that we're not talking about taking any of that away. We're talking about making them follow the rules that they put in place. The only thing I'm talking about at this point in time, and I don't know if Mike, I think Mike is a little bit different thinking, but the only thing that I'm thinking is to give them their 100% capacity, especially for the events that they have planned coming up here in July and August, unless something changes. If we have this outbreak that goes big, it gets to the point in time where, and this is kind of where I struggle. I go, okay, with the numbers that we put together, if we would go down to where we'd have to go to 25% capacity, or if we'd have to go to 50% capacity for those events. I don't know if there's going to be people that are going to, if the people that are putting on this event are going to be willing to travel to a track that's going to be limit the capacity to 50%. And so the only thing I'm thinking about at this point in time is the capacity issue. I'm not thinking about changing anything else other than, and I'm going, how can we leave the procedure in place and say that we'll go under the assumption that we're going to be at 100% unless something changes, rather than have it be a process where every week it's a communication. And I'm not saying that communication hasn't been successful up to this point in time, because the racing community is at 100% right now. So is there some compromise that we can come to there for the racing community so that they can better plan out long-term events?
You know, it seems to me that with today's communications, texting and all the other stuff, if they would know on, maybe Wednesday is a little short, but if they know on Wednesday, on Monday, what they can, what kind of capacity they can have and have on Friday night, certainly people can react to that. And even if they're coming from North Dakota or someplace, they can change their plans if they know on Monday or Tuesday. To me, this is pretty serious business for him, and it's life and death for a lot of people, and I think that's more important than worrying about 100% of the racetrack.
I would agree with the local races, but when they got these big events that are planning, I guess, Mark, could you comment on that, please? I don't want to speak, for you, but so I'd rather have you. Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Introduce yourself.
Mark Thomas, Menominee resident, president of the Red Cedar Racing Association. So your question, I'm sorry. You want to know the dates of our special?
No,
Okay.
the protocol or the advertising, I was referring back to his comment about Monday being enough time, Monday or Tuesday. In my opinion, for the local races, the normal Friday night races, yeah, okay, I'll go along with that. But you have some big time stuff coming here. And would that be too short of a notice for, like, when you're having the Outlaws come here, and what else are you having? In July, you had a couple big.
Yep.
The World of Outlaws, and then we have the fair, obviously. So how much, the World of Outlaws, how much promotion stuff do you do? What's your time frame for promoting a big event like that?
Okay, so with World of Outlaws, which is July 18th, okay, we have already started. The wheels have been in motion pretty much since the vote happened, where we were going to be able to be opened up, and the guidelines were laid out for everybody. And then once the guidelines changed, which put us in a better position to get way more serious about it, having a little more leeway with the numbers and still play our role in the public health scene. So actually tomorrow we have a phone conversation with the promoter of the World of Outlaws to tie down more marketing, more promoting that's going to be happening, because the event is fast approaching. It's 3 weeks away basically, and crazy as that sounds when you're talking about July 18th, but Deb's nodding her head. She knows the time frame she's under with the fair, but so that's one event. As far as would Monday work, Monday would certainly help us versus Wednesday. It would definitely be a positive step as far as being able to communicate with people where we're at, what the picture looks like and what we're going to be capable of doing. The other big show that is August 13th. That's our Nader 55 race. That is money has already, most of the money, we have a guy that, it's a memorial race. We have a guy that's raising almost $50,000 towards the purse of that. In memorial, it's going to be a $15,000 to win show. So that's a pretty big commitment by him, going out and raising all that kind of money and stuff, and so, those are the two big ones. And then the obvious other third one is not until like the third weekend in September with our Punky Manor show. So the rest of the events are obviously important to us. Okay. And we take very seriously, and for all the different reasons that have been laid out throughout all the years, why racing exists and what it does for our community, for lots of different things. So, those are the big ones though, that are tougher to renegotiate, move around, have to cancel, whatever the
Right.
case is going to be, and the dollars that are spent leading up to that are in hopes that you recoup those dollars, with your gate and the participants and people that, visit the concession stand during the event and stuff like that. Those are the fundraisers basically. And then obviously the other big factor is the sponsorships. Our marketing department goes out and collects extra dollars and gets extra folks involved. And, we get that pretty much so if I went to Deb and I said, Deb, hey, would you be a co-sponsor in the World of Outlaw race? Here's what you're going to get from it. We're looking for $1,000. Deb writes me a check, and then Deb's going to want that check back when we cancel. Okay. And rightfully so. Okay. So those are the things that are invested, and it's like what's been said. I know this is a very difficult situation. But we're hopeful that we can make it happen, and keep planning our events. So, but to answer your specific question, Monday would be helpful versus Wednesday. And,
Okay.
now that we've experienced, working with each other and going through this, for example, our track prep started last night. So that's an investment of dollars with fuel and stuff like that. And, if it was, going to be at 0%, and, we couldn't have a grandstand, but we could still race, without having the grandstands open. That's a decision our association has to make, which we made the first week to go ahead and race. But, at this point in the game, I haven't seen the numbers lately to give you a specific answer whether we would do that or not right now. So.
Sure. Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
How would it affect if you were allowed to open at 100% and maintain all of the shields and the limited concession stand openings and all of the safety precautions? Is that going to restrict the fans, and is that going to be a burden, or would that be something that you guys would be willing to continue with all of the safety precautions?
Oh, absolutely. We've never even had a conversation within our association of changing any of those types of parameters, until somebody makes a decision. Okay, this is all done now. Everybody can do whatever they want to do, but And I'm just gonna make a comment. I don't know if this should have been made in the public one or not, but here goes. So, I've noticed the clientele that come, they get the social distancing, it's been interesting to watch with, we have signage up and stuff, but, people are so used to that, where the men's room is and you know what I'm saying? You don't look at the signs all the time, but, we talk about it, make sure you're social distance, but it's been interesting to watch how people's behavior, how they stay away from each other, and those kinds of things. So that's good. I think our society has learned a lot of the right things to do and stuff. So, but no, we would definitely leave all the protocols are definitely in place. We've actually, the middle door of our concession stand, which then puts the doors 9 feet apart side to side, we actually screwed it shut so nobody would make the mistake of opening it if one of us wasn't right there watching them and stuff. So no, we can make all those things work for our events and continue to work for our events. And like I said, people are becoming educated on how things work there, and they, we try to take a little break here and there to separate and let people get down and use the bathrooms and those kinds of things so that we don't have a massive rush at any one time during the night.
Yeah. Dave.
I think what Mark mentioned, he talked about about the association of, the time. But I think we're forgetting the racers. They plan on this stuff, and this is a big thing for them if they're coming to a big race. They're planning that quite a while in advance. And to find out even on Monday that it's not going to get held that next weekend, then they want to race, so now they have to find someplace else to race. I just think it'd be nice if we could give them a little bit more than a week to figure out what their plans are. So I'm sure that when they get done racing on Saturday night, they're starting to set that car up for the following week. That's their. I've got cousins that raced. That's that was their life. That's what they love to do. But when they went to a big race, they were planning that a long time in advance. And I just think the longer we can give them, that's why I mentioned 2 weeks. I think we got to remember the racers too. I can see that the association can shut it down, and get the word out easily. But it's all that planning and stuff that, has gone into it, and the expense that if they don't get to come here and they were planning, maybe next year they won't even plan to come here. There's, you got to think of that stuff. I just throwing that out there from the racer side. Maybe you can add to that. I don't know. I'm not a racer, but I saw
Right.
what my cousins went through.
Right. Yeah. Much of what you said is exactly what happens. People plan out their complete summer, even what we would call our local racers, where they're going to race on a Friday night, where they're going to race on a Saturday. And now you hit a weekend like this weekend coming up, where there's some bigger shows, 2-day events type things where people can go for 2 days, the race teams, and stay in one place basically and race for more money and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's very real. That is very real. And that's part of kind of where we're at with the World of Outlaws. There are, it's a national traveling association. They travel all over the kind of down the middle of the United States, basically. They don't wander too far to the west or east coast, but a lot of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Dakotas, Iowa. I'll forget somebody, but mostly that's kind of the pipeline. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, you know. So yeah, I was out at local race shop today, and one of the traveling guys was in getting some work done on his car that he purchased from there, and they were taking off to Beaver Dam to race tonight, and then they're in Iowa tomorrow, and then they're headed to someplace in Kansas on Sunday, you know, and that's what they do, you know, that he's a 17, 18-year-old kid, and he's a professional. That's his profession, driving a dirt race car on the road the whole summer. So, yeah. So that's what comes to town for the World of Outlaws, is those folks that are professional. That's their profession. That's their livelihood, that kind of thing. So,
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay,
This is for KT. You know, for when I look at the county, you know, you got over 60% of the people are not willing to take the shot because they're willing to live their life as is. And I know you're trying to push more and more, and no one wants it anymore. So is that kind of like, say it's going to be okay for people to go out and risk their life willingly? And that's just what I want to know. You know, you're trying to, I really can't think of how to say it, but I know you're trying. But I think the more of the population of Dunn County wants to move on. They don't want the shot. They want to live. They want to just go. So that's a lot of my constituents are always asking me about all this. You know, why can't we open this up? Why can't we open that up? You know, so I'm just saying that there is more people that are unvaccinated that want to do what they want to do. And you can go to any venue, you go to any store, you could go anywhere, and you don't see nobody wearing masks anymore. You know, it's just like, it's over with, it's done. And I can't understand that, you know. When you say mask required, who wears a mask? Nobody does. So that's a little bit over 60% of the people that ain't taking a shot, they're willing to live their life.
I'm going to disagree when you say nobody. I mean, that a lot of people don't wear masks, but nobody is too much of a blanket. Because
Okay, there's maybe a handful.
yeah, there's more than a half, but the term nobody, that's carrying it a bit too far. But we'll go with a handful.
Okay. I wore a mask, and then everybody looked at me like, why are you wearing a mask? I says, well, I'm here to scare the shit out of you. That's
Well, you know, that's not even on the top. We'll talk later.
okay.
I'm sorry, was there a question in that? I'm sorry, can you?
Okay, it
can
was
you
a
help?
comment. It was-
Okay, Thank you.
Well, if it's fair, I'm going to answer for you. In my opinion, she's just trying to do her job as a public health official, as to keep us educated and informed and aware. And you're right. The fact that, you know, 60% or whatever it is, hasn't gotten vaccinated for whatever reason. But still, she's just trying to do her job. And, you know, so I guess I'll leave it at that.
I guess I could say something too. You know, I have a daughter who's a nurse. Should these people refuse to be vaccinated when they get sick, who's going to take care of them?
I guess in the same thought as you're saying, the people that are overweight also are putting
Can you speak into the mic more, please?
that are overweight are also putting an additional burden on our hospitals because of health risks, and we're not making them we're not holding everyone else hostage until they lose weight. So I understand what you're saying, but I also understand what Ron is saying. I went on my little soapbox a month ago about our rights and our freedoms, and I won't repeat it all, but I do believe that if you're compromised, if you're concerned, if you have the opportunity to get a vaccine. The vaccine has proven to be very effective. So if someone is concerned, they should be getting the vaccine, and they probably are. And for those that choose not to, we can't dictate to people that they get a vaccine, but at the same time, they're accepting some of those risks that go along with being unvaccinated. And they're not, one of my rules is, in my mind, is we legislate, we dictate, we put laws in place when people are affecting someone else in a way they can't control their own safety. Well, everyone has the opportunity to get a vaccine, and for the most part, it's realistic, I believe, for me to say if you get a vaccine, you're pretty well protected. So I don't believe we should be legislating to put into place rules to protect people from themselves that have chose not to take that protection. And I think that falls back to our freedoms and our rights. If they're affecting someone else, and I know there's cases where you do affect someone else, so I'm not saying that it's 100%, but those people are choosing not to get the vaccine. We owe it to them that that's their right. If you're concerned, get a vaccine. Most of the people concerned have got a vaccine. So I believe that if there's 63% of the county that has chosen not to get a vaccine and we've plateaued, then we're probably not going to get much over 50%. So I think at some point we have to accept where we're at, and that's getting a little off track. So I guess that's my point as far as that situation. I would like to make a motion.
Okay, make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow racing to go to 100% grandstand occupancy pending or providing they maintain the safety precautions that they have in place.
Okay, a motion has been made to allow racing to go to 100% attendance while still maintaining the existing protocols as is today. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
just like to say that I can't vote for that because we aren't listening to the people we pay to tell us, the experts like KT. We're ignoring her advice, and that doesn't seem right to me.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion that was made, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Aye.
I did not.
Abstaining?
Mhm.
Okay. So if the motion fails, would you like to reconsider another motion? Does anybody have another motion? Okay, I would like to make a motion that we continue in place the system we have now with the reporting being done on Mondays instead of Wednesdays. And allowing them to go to their 100% as long as a crisis doesn't develop. The definition of a crisis, this is where we're gonna have to have discussion on. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. So the motion is to move the report date to Monday, allow 100% attendance unless a crisis develops. That's the motion. Is there a motion has been made? Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
I think we have to define crisis somehow.
That's what I want to discuss. Yep.
And I don't know.
Well, the other piece of that, thinking through the motion, you said allowing them to go to 100% capacity unless there's a crisis, but then you also have a Monday check for the number of cases in the previous 2-week period or whatever it is.
Yes. And that check would be the determining fact that would let you know there is a crisis based on that number. So once we define what crisis is.
Well, you
I'm not explaining it proper, I guess.
you have a chart that explains, whether it would go to 75% or 50% or 25% already.
Right, but my motion, oh yeah.
I guess I'm wondering if you're looking for something over and above that chart, because that chart indicates whether you've got a
Right,
crisis starting or not.
Are you trying to be more relaxed on the chart?
well, yeah, right. I guess in a sense, I was thinking that through discussion here now, we would define crisis, because I don't have an answer for crisis either. So that's why I put it out here for discussion on what do we, because here again, we get back to, a number, and I hate having just a number, but I know we got to draw a line in the sand someplace. Don, did you?
Well, I think probably what Dave is getting at is, it seems like maybe the crisis term is redundant in a way, because you've already said that they will look at the numbers, and that will determine if it is a crisis or if it isn't. So maybe you wouldn't need the word crisis in there.
Okay.
What would determine a crisis, like 20?
Well, that's what we're
Okay.
That's
all right.
what we're discussing here now, as to, and maybe we just go back to the chart, the revised chart.
So if I can share, I have the chart up in front of me. So for 75%, it would be a weekly total of 18 cases, or approximately 2.5 a day over the course of 7 days. For 60%, we're looking at 22 cases, or a little over 3.25. For 50%, it's 27 cases for the week. For daily, that's about not quite 4 cases a day for 7 days. 35 is at 36 cases for the week, 5 cases a day, a little over. And then 25% grandstand is 45 cases for the week, and that's about 6.5. And that is for unvaccinated people in the grandstand. Vaccinated people are not included in that number.
So in reality, if a person is still going to use the chart, then the only real difference we need to make is the Monday reporting versus the Wednesday reporting. If you're still going to utilize the chart. I mean, because right now, this week, they're at 100%. And they have been for the last month. So, yes, go ahead.
Is that something where maybe you change the multiplier instead of currently it's at 2, correct, Katie? And maybe you put it at 4. Just instead of having the multiplier at 2, maybe you move the multiplier to 4. That allows you to get more people in the stands, and you don't have to be so specific about trying to determine how many people create a crisis if you adjust your multiplier. Now you allow racing a little bit more leeway and a little more bodies in the stand without scrapping the policy that evidently most people are still in favor of.
So if you did that, would that double the number to get to 75 or whatever? Is that what you're saying? I don't quite follow the multiplier.
Sure. So the multiplier was the original grid as it stood. And then the last conversation, there was a doubling of that number. And so to use the example, instead of 2 times 4.55, it would then be 4 times 4.55. So what is that? 17 cases for the week or so. Does that make sense? Is that the math that you're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
But at 75, we're at 18 cases now, correct?
That would move that up. Instead of 18, you would then be at 38.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. It was
So
all
in essence, you're doubling.
almost
what is in
doubling.
place.
That's what I guess that's what I was trying to ask. That's what I was thinking, but
So if we doubled, it would be 17.
can I ask Mark a couple
Oh, yeah, sure.
questions? When is your outlaw race? Like
July 18th,
July,
18th?
yeah.
18th of July, yes.
I'm not, isn't that a Sunday?
And when's that other big one you were talking about?
August 13th, that's a Friday. There is make sure I clarify this, there,
Yes, please.
On the August 13th race, there is a rain date, which is the next week, so the next Friday. And that's again because of the fact that obviously if it rains, we don't race, okay? And because of the fact that a promoter goes out and collects all this money, and it's very localized money that's collected for sponsorship and advertisement and such, we bump it back until we can actually make the race happen so that that person's work doesn't go for nothing and that the sponsors get the recognition from it. So it would bump to the 20th, I think, is the
Yeah,
next
it's the
Friday.
20th, yeah.
And then the 27th.
27th is the championship.
Yep, that's our last night. So if it doesn't happen by then it's done.
So
Go ahead.
I have other questions, and I haven't thought about this way before. I spent a lot of time looking at that spreadsheet. I don't have it in front of me at this point in time, but I spent a lot of time looking at it. And to look at it from a different perspective, if we have, what limits us to set, what's the 75% number? You said,
Sure. So 75% as it's currently written would be 18, little over 18 cases a week. So that's
so 18 cases a week, and we have a population of 45,000
mhm.
plus in Dunn County. So the percent of people that have COVID in the county at that point in time is 0.0.
1 point of clarification, the percent of people who have tested positive for COVID,
Okay,
which is anywhere between 10 and 50% of what we actually think is going on.
okay. I was just trying to think of that because I'm going, okay, if we take the current numbers and we double those, where would be we at on the whole list at that point in time? Because when I was looking at the spreadsheet and putting the numbers together and doing all that, I wasn't aware of this, that the CDC was talking about making changes because of outdoor events, because of the likelihood of this spreading outdoors. I mean, if we had an indoor event, we'd probably limit it maybe even more than that. But seeing as that it's an outdoor event, the CDC says that the spreading of the virus is less likely outdoors. Is there something we can do with the numbers that we would feel comfortable with more so because this is an outdoor event?
Okay. So I'm going to withdraw my motion since I didn't clarify what crisis is. And I'm still not sure we've clarified crisis. So I'll make a new motion to move the report date to Mondays and have a factor number up at from 2 to 4. And then the reporting, the chart will dictate attendance. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. So basically what we're, I'll wait till the discussion period, sorry.
Okay. A motion's been made and seconded to move the reporting date to Mondays and increase the factor from 2 to 4. Discussion on the motion.
So just for clarification purposes, what that means then is we're basically just doubling the numbers that we have today. That's what limits the grandstand capacity.
Yes.
Okay,
And the report date would be Monday
and the report date would be Monday.
instead of Wednesday.
So if that was 18 cases a week or 18 cases a week, now we'd be at 36 cases a week to limit it to 75%.
And going down the line at 25, so just we would have 90 cases a week for 25%.
So how many would make for 100%?
18.
18. As I recall at our last discussion, this was considered and the health department was uncomfortable with that. I don't know if that's still true.
At that point, the health department would be overwhelmed, and I couldn't assure that we were contact tracing and stopping spread.
Okay. Yes.
I think it's still, I guess I find it ironic that we allow all of these outdoor events that are going on now. The CDC has really lax compared to before on outdoor events. And we're still restricting this outdoor racing event with all the safety protocols they have in order. I just think it's kind of embarrassing that we're doing this and to the racing association when all the other racetracks are racing, all the other music events are going on, the Northern Wisconsin State Fair is going on, the Major League Baseball has full stadiums, as does the NFL coming up this fall, and basketball. So I'm not sure about basketball. I just
$2 at a bowl this last game.
So I just think that this conversation is, I don't understand why we're being so restrictive on racing. It amazes me.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, a motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
You vote this time? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, so it was a 3-2.
Correct.
You voted
I vote
against.
against.
Okay, the motion passes by a 3-2 vote. Okay. So nothing else is on the agenda for this evening. So we are adjourned.